Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's up, folks? JT here with another Chart Talk Live. It is January the 13th, 2026. This is brought to you by Xtrades. I hope everybody is having an excellent start to their 2026 so far. Let me get a couple of things squared away here so I can make sure that I have everything ready to go across the board. What's up, Outlaw? What's up, Navy Plum? What's up, New Trader? Good to see you all here this morning. Outlaw, welcome back. Glad to see you back in the mix. Appreciate you reaching out to me recently to let me know how things are going. Let me get my, okay, it says I got a chat doc. Where's the chat doc? I don't see the YouTube chat. Oh, it's hiding over there in the corner. There it is. All right, let me get this in the mix here. There we go. Perfect. Shit, I need to move that. Okay, sorry. Getting all my windows squared away there so nothing's in the way. Market's pumping this morning. Let me take a quick look at the data that just came out. Inflation rates were this morning. Core inflation came in right in line with the previous reading, slightly below the consensus reading. That's your core inflation year over year. Same thing with month over month, came in slightly below the consensus estimate. And the overall inflation rates steady, no increase, no decrease. So, overall, not bad data. Just a reminder that we do have some more data coming out at 10 o'clock, new home sales. Coming out at 10 o'clock, not sure how much of a factor that will be on the markets, but just something to keep in mind as we make our way through the trading day today. All right, let me get over to the chat here. Oh yeah, what'd you think of that? I thought Raffaello did an excellent job, but and I know he's over in Europe, so maybe it was just the fact that it was a long distance interview. The video and audio were a little bit out of sync, but we've talked about some ways to make sure that that's smoother next time. But listen to the words, don't try to read my lips on that one. But it was fun. I really enjoyed it. I thought Raffaello did a really good job as an interviewer, so props to him. Very glad to have him on the team and working hard on what we're doing with content and social media. Speak of the devil, there he is. What's up, Raffaello? Good morning to you. Good to see you here. We were just talking about our interview that we did recently. Excellent work again, my friend. I thought you did great as an interviewer. All right, let me get there we go. There's my charts. There's Discord. All right, we're good to go across the board. So let's dig into things a little bit here. Let's talk about it. What are we seeing here in the markets? ES making a push to new all-time highs here pre-market. Getting over this 70.26 prior fib extension resistance. We do have a couple more fib extensions overhead in the 70.44 to 70.53 range. You could probably split the difference there and just call it 70.50 before we make a break out and try to make a bigger move up towards 70.80 area. I've got a couple of fib extensions stacked up right there as well from previous all-time highs. Once we see a pretty decent pullback in the markets, now that we've tested these new all-time highs, obviously I'll get to work on taking a look at what that means for potential future resistances using our trend-based fib extension tool in TradingView. We've talked about that a few different times as far as different ways to utilize it and how I like to use it to try to spot these resistance levels that we've essentially never seen before while we make our way through the price discovery process. So overall, not a whole lot bad that you can say about what we're seeing here in the markets. We did see a little bit of a pullback down here to the 200 SMA right there in the bullish flag for NTS. Got a long signal shortly after that, and we were off to the races, pushing higher and breaking out to new all-time highs here this morning. So things looking good so far for the start of 2026. We'll see if we can't sustain this momentum as we make our way through the first quarter of this year. But I do think we will see a pullback before too long. Yeah, exactly. New trader of all-time high 3 days in a row. In a bullish market, we can continue to make new all-time highs. Things can stay overbought from an RSI perspective. Markets are definitely bullish right now. So remember, always the trend is your friend. So right now we continue to look for buy the dip opportunities. Be very careful about trying to call tops or short tops or take overly an excessive amount of bearish exposure is what I should say, because you're essentially fighting against gravity at this point, and gravity happens to be pulling things to the upside versus back to earth. So overall, again, things looking quite bullish. Not a whole lot to be bearish about. Would not be super heavy in puts or anything like that at this point, unless you find a name that is just particularly overextended and running into some strong confluences of resistance. Then maybe if the setup's that good, you take a shot at puts on individual names, but I would certainly be very careful shorting the markets or any ETFs or index funds, I should say, at this point. All right, let's get to some trade plan recaps, and then we'll work on some new trade plans here together. What do we got here in the chat? Yeah, okay, good morning. Yeah, new all-time. Okay, cool. I'm up to speed there. How's everybody in YouTube doing? Hope you guys are doing well. All right, so we're going to get some trade plan recaps, and then we're going to work on some new trade plans live together here this morning. So if you have any ticker requests or if you have any questions in general, feel free to go ahead and start dropping those into the chats. I will get to as many of those as I possibly can here this morning. So what are we seeing here on NBIZ? We are seeing a nice push to the upside. We did this plan on last Tuesday's live stream, looking to play it long on any break above 97.86. We got that break above to PT1, pulled back, another break above, PT1 again, pulled back, another break above, PT1 plus. And then yesterday we got another pullback into this same range, continues to tap that bullish buying pressure there on NTS. So another pullback right into that area. And then yesterday launched, finally got a good break over PT1, back tested that prior resistance as support. So we got PT2 yesterday, and it's trying to push over PT2 and perhaps going to make the bigger move up to 114.89 if we can hold above that 107.64 PT2 resistance that's currently in the way. So NBIZ trade plan going fantastically. Could have played it multiple times from the call entry to PT1. And if you caught the move yesterday over the call entry, we're up to PT2 plus with a lot of good momentum behind us that hopefully will push things a little bit higher and all the way up to PT3. Intel, we also did on last Tuesday's live stream. It gave us the break above and back test there Wednesday, took us straight up to PT2, pulled back into the key buy zone here on NTS, and then fired off the long signal to take it up to PT3 plus. It's since then held PT2 as support. We've seen some dips coming back toward that level, but all those dips have been bought, and now we're breaking back out above PT3 and trying to hold above that prior high as support here pre-market. I did share these levels in the chat, but I know they weren't a part of our trade plan, assuming that we can hold this break above 45.22. I'd be looking for price targets up here at 47.19, 48.62, and 50.48 for continuation price targets. So keep those on watch and on your radar. As long as Intel is holding over 45.22, we should see it try to make a push up toward some of those upper price targets that we've got outlined there. Oh gosh, excuse me. Let me get some of this more of this coffee in. Mm-hmm. That's the good stuff. All right. So, again, Intel overall bullish, trade plans played out for everything and then some. And now we have some additional extension targets to the upside that we're watching. So if you want to, go ahead and mark those on your charts. NKLR did give us a couple of breaks to the downside here on the hourly, but those breaks kept getting bought back up until it eventually did tap the 333 SMA. You all know this is one of my favorite moving averages to keep on my charts at all times. Came and tested that 333 SMA confluence. What else do we have right there? We had a key fib level here on NTS, top of that ultimate buy zone pressure. So tap that 333 buy zone confluence, and from there has bounced to the upside. Tested the call entry yesterday, couldn't quite get a confirmed break. So now it's consolidating between the call entry and the shared stop loss average down. But if NKLR can give us a good break of that 643 level, I think it is going to start chewing through some of these upside price targets. So keep that on watch. We're seeing nuclear developments take shape. Meta just made a big commitment on moving a bunch of power over to some nuclear partners that they just signed a deal with. So expect to see nuclear developments like that continue to pop on the news feed and push these names higher and higher throughout this year is my personal take on it. But again, nothing is guaranteed in the markets. So NKLR, definitely a stop out there on the downside. That 333 was and NTS flag were just too strong for that to continue down to PT1. So some profits could be booked and stops moved up. But overall, I think we'll be able to make that back and then some once NKLR gives us an upside break, and we'll play this to the upside where we'll make back those losses. Tilray, we did on last Thursday's live stream. This one did give us, let me get to a different time frame here so it's a little bit easier to see. Did give us the break above, although all of it really happened during the pre-market session there last Friday. Ran right up to, what do we have? The 333 SMA. Gave us a couple of sweeps above, so not quite the clean rejection that we just saw on NKLR, but some sweeps above there, ultimately catching resistance and pulling it back down into our range, and now we see the range playing back out. It did tap PT1 as well, by the way, but ultimately it was not tradable, at least from an options perspective. So it gave us that move up from 983 to 1029 in that pre-market session, but from there it's pulled back into essentially our no trade range unless you're going to play in between these levels, but I think that would be a little bit tricky. Does have the 200 SMA overhead there with some confluence at the call stop loss average down at 950. So this is starting to look a little bit bearish on Tilray in my personal opinion. That 950 confluence will be an interesting one to watch if it can break. But then we've got that pretty decent area of sell pressure all the way up to essentially $10 at this point on Tilray. So keep that in mind. Also 200 crossing below the 333. That's a bearish look as well. Bearish crossover on that. So overall, Tilray did hit some price targets, but I don't think it was all that actionable. And right now we're just consolidating back in the range between our call entry and put entry levels. And then we had ASST. This one was a upside only trade plan. If it can give us a good break over 118, we're looking to play this for some of these upside targets. Let's see what that looks like. I mean, it's pre-market so far, but I want to see kind of how convincing that was. Yeah, it's kind of just a weird opening pre-market candle. So this one has not yet given us a break above 118. That being said, if it does give us the break over 118, should make a move up through some of these price targets. The other thing that I would say is you also have a really nice confluence coming up underneath to help support that stop loss average down level there at 104. Got the NTS bullish flag here on the 15-minute chart, tracing right at that level. And then just below that, we've got the 333 and the 200 SMAs all adding support right near that 104 level. So if we get a dip back down to 104, I'd say it'd certainly be worth a lotto size position to load up some shares and buy that dip. Or again, if we get a break over 118, follow the plan. And then last but not least, silver, which has just continued to maintain incredible momentum and bullishness. We did a buy the dip plan for this on last Thursday's session. That's why it looks a little bit weird. We were looking for a test to 66.48. Didn't quite get there. We did have that 200 SMA coming up. Ultimately, it did push, though, ran through all of our price targets, then gapped up above PT3, now making new all-time highs here on SLV at 79.50 this morning. So metals, the safe haven of the world, continue to look extremely strong, while geopolitical uncertainties continue to maintain their presence in the background and kind of around us as we make our way into 2026 and see how these markets are going to treat us. All right, so that does it for our trade plan recaps. We've got some folks in the chat. Good morning to those who have joined. What's up, KC? Good to see you here. Israel, good to see you. 5.22, good to see you as well. I'm just going to call you 522. All right, we got some time. Let's get to work on some trade plans here, folks. Do you guys have any ticker requests? If so, drop those in the chats, either in Discord or YouTube. I'm also noticing kind of a lighter audience this morning, so I'm going to go ahead and copy link. I'm going to share this in the main options chat while you guys work on what tickers you want us to take a look at on the live stream this morning. All right, Netflix. Ooh, double vote for Netflix. I like that one. Let's take a look at Netflix and Root. Root, I don't even think I'm familiar with Root, so I like that. I like a good new ticker I've never really heard of. Could we relook at... Oh, gosh, man, you slide those in first thing, and I looked right past it. Thank you for reminding me, new trader. We'll take a look at CRWV. All right. Let's start with Netflix, since we had a couple of votes for that. Or requests, not votes. That's the wrong way to say it. All right, Netflix, what do you want to do here? That is invalidated. Both of these downtrend lines still in play. All right. And Netflix is in an area it hasn't seen in quite a while. Trying to hold this prior demand zone. So the question really becomes, when does downside potentially get interesting? Or where do we have a good... What's up, LB? Good morning to you. Kind of intrigued by this if it does get a break below 89.04. Seen this move a few times as I've been looking at this price action. That move down to 86.13's definitely in play. Question is, where's a good stop loss on this? Let's check this out real quick. Yeah, there is a level here I just didn't have yet. It's actually a pretty good one, too. I don't know how I missed that one. So I like that setup taking us down to PT1. Yeah, whoops. Set my second target right here at 84.90. Third target. Not much help there. Yeah, I'd set it right here at 83.76. That being said, I would also keep this on watch. I think there's a potential extended target that takes us down here to this recent bottom, or not recent, bottom from essentially a year ago, down there at 82.53. So keep that on watch. That's definitely where I would go ahead and take the remainder of any put profits or bearish positions off at 82.53. That's really, excuse me, looks like a solid base there, but scale out along the way. And again, 83.76 could be a bottom as well to the downside. Decent risk reward on that downside trade plan, but as you can see, lots and lots of support stacked up there below that put entry. But I think we've got a little bit better. Let's go ahead and measure this out real quick before we get too much further along. Slightly better than 1-to-1 by the looks of it. Yeah, not terrible. 1.15. All right, so then the question becomes, where does upside get interesting? Excuse me, I got something in my throat this morning that just keeps agitating it. All right. Yeah, I like this. It's kind of a tight couple of levels there. But I do like that. It's a little bit of a ways to go before that upside on Netflix really starts to look good. But I think once it gets over that, it does look pretty damn good. I also want to check this level. Could be a very smart, but also slightly conservative stop loss average down. It's a little bit iffy at that level, to be perfectly honest. I think we're looking at 90.79 as a stop loss average down. Yeah. So if we can break over that 92.36 level, should see 94.16 first target. Yeah, there's definitely a good level there. Would also take us up to the top, very close to the top of the bearish flag here on NTS. That's all the price data we're going to get, isn't it? Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's use what we've got. I like that as a second price target. A couple of sweeps above this weekly level here at 96.65. Kind of thinking that that's going to be our level anyway, though. No need to try to force this to be in a attempt at a sweep above this level to get to that third price target. Yeah, we're going to stick with that there at 96.65 to finish taking our profits on this upside trade plan. All right, let's go. Let's lock this in. Takes us down to 86.13, 84.90, 83.76. Stop loss at 89.91. And then we have this extended target down here. In fact, I'm going to pull that out of this group so I can clean this chart up. But I want to leave it on the chart. All right. There we go. That's what I want it to look like. Let's get this looking nice so when I post this chart, it's easy to see what we're trying to do here for this Netflix trade plan. Yeah, that looks good. 1.15 to both sides. Actually, those risk rewards kind of stack up exactly the same on both sides. All right, cool. Let's go. Let's lock it in. Oh, let me switch this to the hourly chart too. All right, that's good enough. All right, copy link. Here comes your what's up, Andrea. Good to see you. We'll try to take a look at AMD or at least give you a quick take on it if we can't do a full-fledged trade plan. Here comes your Netflix live stream plan, though. And over here in the chat there. Yeah, let me get this posted in Elite. Copy this image, get that posted. All right, let me grab that link so we can set our alerts for the bot. That's cool, that's cool. Cool, cool, cool. Tight, tight, tight. All right, that looks good. And then last but not least, let's lock in our template so we can circle back to this. All right, so let's talk through this one more time and then we'll get to our next trade plan. What are we looking for here on Netflix? We are looking for a break above 92.36 for this to start to look bullish again. That should give us price targets at 94.16, 95.33, and 96.65 with a stop loss average down at 90.79. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 88.15. That should give us price targets at 86.13, 84.90, and 83.76 with an extended target down there at 82.53 and a stop loss average down at 89.91. Those are your Netflix upside and downside plans. Let's go. Let's get it. All right, let's take a look at CRWV and then we'll take a look at Root. And then we'll try to take a look at AMD. Oh, CRWV might make our lives easy. Oh, no, that's the Netflix trade plan. Sorry. It's like, is that an old CRWV trade plan? This is an old CRWV trade plan, though. Over 83.22 targets. So it gave us that break, took us to PT2 yesterday from, that's been a while since I looked at CRWV. Core weave. Okay, got all the levels that I've charted so far on there. Let's clean that up though. All right, so big old bull flag here right underneath this 91.49 support. Definitely could make some moves if it breaks over that. And keep this on watch for now. Go back a little bit more. I just want to see. Yeah, let's take a shot at this. Being a decent move up to that 114 level. Over that. Yeah, I'd scale some more out at this weekly resistance here at 104.95. Call it 105. Quick little resistance test there. Yeah. Let's go for 111.67 on that move to the upside. Let's see how that looks here. Yeah, pretty close to where I was thinking. Stop loss average down for this upside trade plan. Let's see. Could we give it a little bit more room is my only question. I would say if we do, it's not much. Potentially down to 87.29. Yeah. Whoops. There we go. That's what I want that to look like. All right. So that's the upside. Sorted. Downside. I'm thinking right here. I don't need these old circles or whatever that brush tool is. Stop loss average down. See, my concern there is it's a very tight little move down to 76.61. Certainly would have that as a price target. So let's go ahead and get that on here. kind of the real question for me is the better entry for this downside a little bit higher than we flip our current projected put entry as a PT1. Would be a very tight little window. Nah, let's do this. Interesting dip that got bought up down here. Doesn't necessarily make it a good level just because we bounced there once. Yeah, that's looking like sort of the more interesting level to me down here at 69.45. Yep, that's NTS or the Trade Plan Navigator, Capo Bastone, if you're talking about the one that's just showing the price levels and the stop loss average down and all that sort of stuff. That is the Trade Plan Navigator. That is free if you're a paying Xtrades member. And then the other one that's really helping me with my trades and actually execution is NTS. Raffaello. Nailed it. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take a shot at this PT3. If it does break down below 81.20, that bottom doesn't hold there as a double bottom, and it finishes this move down to 69.45. All right, so let's lock this one in. That's the one I need. And stop loss average down, 87.29. Put entry at 81.20. Whoops. And okay, cool. Cool. Let's go. Pretty decent risk reward, small windows down here to the downside, but still with the stop loss average down where we've got it, still decent risk reward on those downside, on the downside plan. All right, here comes your CoreWeave live stream plan. Let's get this over in the elite chat. Oops, need that. All right, let's copy that link. Set our alerts. Hang on, I have a feeling that's going to try to pick up the wrong thing. So we want this to be on Trade Plan Pilot, any alert. Yep, cool. And last but not least, let's save this. Tuesday live stream plan 2. Yep. All right, so what are we looking for here on CoreWeave? We're looking for a break over 91.49. That should bring us price targets at 114, 104.95, and 111.67 with a stop loss average down at 87.29. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 81.20. That should bring price targets at 76.61, 73.12, and 69.45 with a stop loss average down at 84.12. Those are your CoreWeave live stream plans. Let's rock and roll. All right, what do we have next? We had Root, a ticker that I am not familiar with at all. So let's take a look at Root. And we don't need you right now. Never looked at this chart before. Pretty low volume on this one would be my concern with Root. Pretty low, very low. It's only trading around a couple 100,000 shares, 250 across a 30-day period. That's on the low side of the volume spectrum. Let's see if we see a decent setup though. I just want to focus on this chart real quick. Let's zoom out some with it being a lower volume. I want to focus more on big picture when that's the case. Support and resistance on this one's a bit messy. It's probably looking more like right here if there is an upside entry. Let's take a look. Got something that looks like a trade plan coming together here. I would certainly advise caution on this one. As far as trading it with options, I'm not even sure if it is optionable, but if it is, be very careful. In fact, I would say this is a better one for a shares trade. Because of that low volume, I'd imagine that the options chain is going to be fairly illiquid, probably really wide bid-ask spreads, lots of things that present kind of unnecessary challenges on the option side of things with it being low volume. So I would say, so for those reasons is why I would say this is probably a better one for shares. Stop loss average down right there. Downside. Where is the downside plan? Yeah, it's probably right in this neck of the woods. Wait a second. Where is big double bottom down there? Okay. There's some price history there for that. Let's see how this 71.62 holds up. It's a little bit higher, actually. I think probably closer to this 71.85. Interesting. 4 candles in a row, all coming down, tapping that same level. Yeah, that's definitely one I would watch. All right, well, we've got a trade plan. I'm concerned about this downside plan, risk reward being less than 1-to-1. It looks like it is going to be under that, so I'd be very careful. Although, actually, this could be moved down just a hair. Not that far, though. Right about there. So both of these upside and downside plans looking like very close to 1-to-1 risk reward. So be cautious knowing that. And again, better. I'm going to assume that this is going to be better to trade via shares. And 63.16, stop loss average down at 78.78. That's a shared stop loss average down. Let's see if NTS shows us anything. Changes my mind about any of that. The answer is no. Like I said, right at 1-to-1. Getting to PT1 on this one. But we'll take a shot at it. Again, very low volume on this one. Be cautious. Keep it small. All right, here comes your Root live stream plan. And for our Xtrades chat. And over in the Elite channel real quick. Nope. There we go. And last but not least, let's get our template locked in. All right, so let's talk through this real quick. What are we looking for here on Root? We're looking for a break over 82.30. That should bring targets at 85.89, 89.82, and 93.34 with the stop loss average down at 78.78. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 75.32. That should bring targets at 71.85, 68.27, and 63.16 with a shared stop loss average down with that upside trade plan at 78.78. All right, let's take a quick look at AMD and Amazon, but these will be quick looks at these. Not time to do full trade plans. I do need to get the SPY plan put together for today. AMD looking really good here, over 213.41, fully bullish on NTS, just cleared back over the SMAs. They're starting to look like they want to curl back to the upside. I'd be looking at a price target if this continues up. And I would say as long as it's holding over 213.41, it looks good to continue to the upside with a price target here at 220.42. That's a quick take on AMD, but overall looking bullish as long as it's holding over 213.41. And then last but not least, Amazon finally making some moves. Looking fully bullish, running through some fib extensions here, old fib extensions. $248.30. Whoops. Didn't mean to do either of those two things. All right. That level could be just a little tiny bit higher right there. So if it can break over 248.33, I think Amazon can make a move up to 251.66 and then potentially 255.40 before testing what I'm gonna assume, yeah, is all-time highs. So that's a quick take on Amazon for you. All right, folks, we got 10 minutes left till market open. I do need to go get the SPY plan put together. I'm also going to be out this morning. I got my last follow-up appointment with the neurosurgeon for my neck surgery that I had last year. So I got to go knock that out this morning. So stick to your guns. You know what you're doing with these plans. So execute, be vigilant, all those good things. As we always say here on Chart Talk Live, make sure that you are planning your trades and trading your plans. Also remember, we're looking for profits, not perfection. So keep those wins big, keep those losses small. Go out there and execute today. I will see you guys in the chats when I get back from my appointment. With that, have a fantastic day. Reminder, we will be back at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our second Chart Talk Live of the week. So I hope you'll come back and join me for that. Until then, this is JT with Xtrades signing off. Have a fantastic day, everybody.